Here are the things you're going to need to make my all-in-one different method earrings. I've taken some scraps and I've just rolled them into little logs. I'm going to just cut them into the same size. And then what I'm going to do is wrap each one in white clay. I've just rolled it out to a number 4. And I'm just literally going to wrap each one until it touches, slice it with the knife, and then give it a little roll just to seal the edge. And I'm going to do that for all of these. Each one's going to be covered with a little bit of white. So I've prepared some white in my pasta maker and I've pre-cut it just so you can see the method nice and quickly. Before I had a pasta machine, I just did this by hand with a roller. I've literally just picked up random colours that I had left over from other projects in my box, but of course you can start with new clay if that's what you have. I like to mix all my colours from scratch. So here are my little sausages, and what I'm going to do is just make them a little bit longer. So I'll roll the first one out and then try and make the rest the same size. Here we go. I've just got 2 more to do. This is one of the very first methods that I learnt when I was learning polymer clay last year. And actually, I still use it. It's a really nice way of getting lots of different effects. Once they're together, give them a roll. So I'm just rolling them. Try and keep them nice and straight in line, but just give them a roll. And then I'm going to use my slicey knife and cut down the middle. And then you can see what the inside looks like. Just spotty. Every colour's just got a little bit of white surrounding it. So here I'm putting 2 together and I'm slicing through both. And I'm trying to make each of these slices the same thickness, just so that when my pattern is laid out like a mosaic, it's not going to distort. So I'll take the first 2 here. Now I'm going to make this a little bit symmetrical. I like to start off symmetrical and then just go wild afterwards. So I'm matching pink to pink and purple to purple, and I'm just putting them next to each other like this, and then I'll just keep going. So I'll speed this bit up so you don't have to watch me laboriously do that. Just pressing them in slightly so that they join up. I'm just trying to make a slab that will look a little bit like a mosaic when it's finished. And then I'm going to get my roller. So make a decision at the end as to whether these end bits work. Mine didn't, so I've put them to one side. And then you want to roll it, and you want to try and roll it both ways. You want to try and keep that pattern. So just rolling it both ways. And then I actually like to cut it off the board and turn it over, because sometimes it can distort the picture on the back if you don't do this. So I'm just going to turn it over. If you have a look, you'll probably see there's going to be some white edges. Yeah. So I'm just going to do the same thing on the back. Forward and back, side to side. I'm going to put it through my pasta machine just to make it number 2, which is my favourite number on an Atlas machine for making earrings. Here we go. It's slightly distorted, but not too much. As this is one of my first makes, I'm going to just literally use the first cutters that I bought. These were from Amazon, simple purple cutters. What I'm looking for is some symmetry-ish for these first ones. So I've gone for the sort of coral colour with the blue, and I'm trying to match that, make 2 of each. Like I said, I'm going to start off pretty symmetrical, but as this video goes on, you'll see that I get a little bit wilder and enjoy the patterns that it makes for me. Just speeding it up a little bit so that you don't have to watch me make my symmetrical decisions. Lots of hesitation, as you can see. Now, when I first made this pattern, I thought that, oh no, everything else is wasted, but I'm not going to waste it. I put it to one side. I don't believe in waste. Clay is expensive, so I will be using that later. Now, I like to pick up my pieces, give them a little bit of a clean and put them back down. Some people bake straight on their tile. Here's me showing you a bit slower. I literally just go around the edges slightly and pull off any of the tiny bits that are left. When you use plastic cutters especially, you sometimes get little bits around the edge. I like to take them off. I used to bake on the tile, but I found the backs became quite shiny and had air bubbles in. So now I take them off very gently and I like to transfer them over, here I'm doing that very quickly, onto some white, just copy paper, the cheapest type. Okay, so this is my spares. I've got some white left over and I've got this lump of what's left of that lovely pattern. So this is my second go now with this pattern. So what I'm going to do is lay it out, sort of squish it together and almost just make another flat pattern. This one won't be symmetrical. It'll be a bit odder, but I would just layer them down. There we go, speed that up a bit for you. And then I'll get my roller and just make sure that the pieces are connected before I put them through my pasta machine. Now, a lot of people like to back their clay, so I'm going to show you in this example how we do that. I'm going to run this through my pasta machine. There it is on both sides. I'm going to use my leftover white. I'm using this bit, and actually I've got another bit that I cut out into a rectangle to add to it, just to give it a little bit more size, which you'll see. It's not magic. I've put two pieces together. There we go. And I'm going to lay, these are a bit thinner, but I'm going to lay one on top of the other and then just give it a gentle roll. I'm not going to put it back through the pasta machine. And these ones do turn out a little bit thicker, which I'll show you later. But I'm just backing the pattern on the front with the white on the back. And here I go in again with my first set of cutters. I still love these cutters. I use them all the time. And I'm actually not going to do all of it because I really want to show you what happens with the spares. And I've actually made these earrings again several times and not actually done these first few cuts. I've just made the new pattern from the spares. So those of you that are wide-eyed will realise I cut out 5, which is ridiculous for earrings. Most people do have 2 ears, so my mistake. But anyway, here we go. This is what I love. This is my favourite bit, which is why I've saved some. I like to just turn it over and whack a bit on the back. You could then fold it. I mean, literally, this is going to go wild. I love this bit. This is where it turns into almost like watercolour. Each of the strands and colours are stretched and I can get some really nice pieces out of this. Now, these will look different on the front to the back. So I'll cut a few out and you'll see in a second that actually when I feel like I've got some space left, but I don't like the pattern that's left, I just turn it over and have a look on the back and see if there's anything I can salvage. So let's just finish cutting these out. And here I am looking at the back. So I've decided that I quite like the back of this one, maybe for some smaller earrings. Yeah, I've gone in with my little cutter there. Got 4 more, so that's 2 more pairs. Actually, I've got 3, so I need to cut another one. There we are. That piece there is quite nice. So there we go. That's our 3rd attempt now with the same initial pattern. And I love those 2. They're my favourite. Okay, so this is what's left. And I'm going to see if I can get another slab out of it. I'm just pushing it down, giving it a roll, popping it through my pasta machine again on number 2, and I'm just going to see what comes out. And I love it. So as you can see, each time we go back through this process, the colours are more diluted and it looks more watercolour-like. And here's my circle cutter, and I obviously want to capture these nice colours, so I'm going to go here. Now you'll see from this bit, I'm hopeful that I'm going to get 2 more circles, and I'm not. So I reach in my drawer and I just grab this teardrop shape and I love it. Now, what I always do when I make something like this is see what I can do with the leftovers. And I'm using these round cutters. They come with everything. every new set that you buy, or they're really cheap on Amazon or Temu or wherever you shop. And I use them to cut studs. People love studs, and I find the leftovers are perfect for that. Now, if you look at this one, I've accidentally cut a stud into the shape, but I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to get a smaller cutter out and cut from the middle. So there's a smaller teardrop, and waste not, want not. I'm going to get 2 more earrings out of this. Okay, this is what I have left. I don't know what number we're on now. Reincarnation number 5. And I'm going to roll it and see what it looks like. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it. It's starting to mush together. The back and the front didn't look good. So this is my top tip for the next step. We can do it again. I give it a gentle roll, and then I twist the two together, and then I lay it flat in the twist and give it a little roll. And I love doing this when I'm mixing colours as well, because sometimes you get a really nice effect. And it's not easy to see, but there's some lovely pink lines and purple lines running through this. So this is where I get quite a lot of my little studs for my stall as well. So I'm going to cut some hearts, and I'm going to cut a few studs. And then I really am done with this piece of clay. I've turned it over and I found some more, which is lovely. But if I mix this clay again, I know I'm going to get brown. Now this is quite a light brown. It's going to be because I've used white. And I'll be honest with you, I love the leftovers because I use these all the time. It's made a beige. It's quite a nice beige. If I pick up the white, you can see, there we go. It's just a little bit beige. And I use beige all the time for faces, and I also mix it a lot into green to make it more natural. Now here I am, I found my ends, and I've gone, do you know what? I'm not going to waste those either. So I take my heart cutter and I'm just seeing what I've got left, and I can cut 3. Now that would do 2 earrings and a pendant. I'm going to have a look at them and decide which ones go best together and keep a pair, and then put the other one with the waist. So here they are on the paper, and they are ready to go in the oven. They're Fimo, so I put them in at 110. I put them in a cold oven. I put a foil sort of tin over the top, for like a takeaway tin, and I cook for an hour from cold, and then I lift them out. Everyone's got a different way of cooking. Look, even those little studs have a really nice little colour gradient in them. Little girls love those ones. So here they all are finished, and I'm just showing you what I use to give them a gentle sand. I used to use the Dremel, and it used to take chunks out of the side, so I literally use a nail file, and you can see from that nail file that I've actually used it for about a year. And I'm just using the gentle side, and as you can see, those two are stuck together. They just come apart really easily. Oh, I'm proud of these little hearts. I'm showing you them again. So all I do, and I'm going to show you slowly, is pick up one piece and gently use the light side of the sander just to take off any tiny specks. Sometimes there's still just a couple of specks of loose clay, and it's really loose. So as you can see, I'm just going forwards and backwards and turning the piece at the same time. I'm not actually filing the side edge, I'm filing the very back corner edge, and it's so lightly. I always turn each piece over, have a look on the back to see if any of those specks have stuck to the back. And here there's just one little bit, and again, really lightly, just going to get that off. So there's no scratch marks, and the earring is done. The camera's turned around, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm just finishing these off. I'm going to do all of them. It just gives them a nice finish. I sometimes pop them in a water bath afterwards, or I wipe them down with a wipe, depending on how dirty they are. These were really simple and actually didn't create much dust, but you can enjoy my hand going backwards and forwards. I've cut the picture to save you the agonising effort of having to watch me do all of them. The studs are quite hard to hold, but they seem to respond. Sometimes they don't even need doing. The studs normally cut quite cleanly with those metal. cutters. Now this is my trusty board. I just got a piece of wood from the wood yard, and this is my Dremel tool. I use a 1.5mm drill bit. Here are my two favourites. I always start with my favourites. And I'm just seeing which way I want them up and where I'm going to put my hole. So I take my Dremel and I just gently go in. Now before I had a Dremel, this wasn't an issue. I used to just put a tiny hole with the brown circle cutter that came with that kit that I make the studs out of. But I actually do prefer to do it afterwards because I get a bit more choice about where I want to put the fastenings. So here I am. I'm just going to do the rest of them. You can watch. It's very exciting, isn't it? Now here's 4. I'm showing you all of the 4 because they didn't actually work well as pairs. There were 2 that worked well together and 2 that just didn't match, so I abandoned those. And here I'm doing this again, just matching, making sure I've got 2 nice ones that work together. Now this one broke, so sometimes they do, and you just have to put them to one side and think, oh well. Just wiping my board down with a wipe. I love wet wipes, so useful during clay. And here are all my findings. So I try to keep them in one little pot, makes it nice and easy to put things together. 2 pairs of pliers are a must, and this Loctite gel power glue is my favourite. I've tried a few and I like this one the best. So I'm turning my studs over and I'm going to put a pop of glue on the back of each of them, and I'm going to put my studs. Now some people love to embed. I check my studs before I put them on the cards to sell them, and I always check that they're nice and secure. If they're not, then I obviously redo them, but I don't embed my studs, and I haven't had a problem using this method. I do make sure I use enough glue. I love that glue dispenser because it's got these sort of side buttons I tried to show you earlier that you can press. Anyway, here we go. Put them to one side. Now I always leave my studs overnight and for 24 hours before I put them on the cards, just so that they have time to really secure and cure. Now here are my jump rings and my earring fasteners. I tend to use size 6mm jump rings. I can't use the ones that are smaller. My fingers just can't hold them. I tend to use 6mm on basic things like this. If I'm joining 2 pieces together, I tend to use slightly larger ones so that they connect and can dangle nicely. You'll see later when I do the slightly thicker ones, I actually go up and use 8mm ones. But there's a special way to open and close jump rings. You make sure that you hold one still with the left hand if you're right-handed, and then you just pull the right hand towards you. You'll see when I do it with this second one. And then when you fasten the back onto it, just putting the back in now, I go backwards and forwards slightly until you feel it kind of click into place. So here I am, just doing these ones, putting a jump ring on and then popping on one of these dangly heads and then just closing them up. So again for the circle ones, and I'm just showing you a few here, but obviously I'm going to do them for all the pairs that we have made. Now these next ones coming up, these ones are the ones where we did 2 layers with the white on the back, and so I'm using wider, well, larger jump rings. These are 8mm ones. I think the 6 would have been fine, but when the pieces are a little bit thicker, you do need to go up a jump ring size. So same thing, put them on, wiggle backwards and forwards. That one wasn't quite there. There we go. Until it clicks. Rotate it slightly so it's not going to fall out. And here I am doing the same again, popping it through, holding it with the pliers, picking up the other pliers, and then closing it. Lovely. Right, so here are the earrings. This is the first set. This was the second set, backed in white. This was the third and fourth run through. The squares were the third and the circle were the fourth. I think they were part of the fourth run as well. And there are studs, but actually they're still drying, so I'm not showing you those. Here are some of the others. I'm just, Some people ask me about my cards. I buy these really cheaply from China. They're just plain cards, and I stamp them. And I use these stampers. Oh, here's the other card for my studs. I stamp the back of that one. So I buy these cards quite cheaply, and then I stamp them myself. I had these stamps made, I think that was about £16 on Zazzle, and the smaller one was about £9. And you just push them down, a bit like the librarian used to in the library, and they just stamp. And they self-ink, so when the ink runs out, you can just add ink into there. And these are my favourite. Always end on your favourites. I always finish them at the back with these little silicone stoppers. They're not expensive and they stop your earrings falling out. Some people wonder how I store them. I store them in these long, thin bins, which I actually get from Hobbycraft. Anyway, I'll pop the lid on. Thanks for watching.